right, welcome everybody to another one of our Lumix Live events here that we're holding weekly on Thursdays moving forward. Hope everyone had a great week since the last stream that we had. But we're going to change it up a little bit as we've been doing over the last couple of weeks to kind of give you guys different aspects of content that we have out in the field here. So this week I'm going to be joined by William Innes, Charles, and Jennifer Maring to talk about the photography and videography businesses and how everyone is kind of managing through these current times that we're living in these days right now. So like we said, for those that are looking for very technical, kind of product related videos, we will be getting back to that stuff next week with more of a deep dive into ProRes RAW and some other kind of topics that we're going to cover. So make sure to stay tuned for next week and kind of come up with your questions prior since that firmware gets released on Monday, if everyone remembers correctly. So with that, let's bring Charles, Jennifer, and William into the conversation here. And so yeah, hey, how are you guys doing today?
Doing good. How about you guys?
Doing awesome.
Awesome. Happy to be here.
Awesome, yeah. So for those that are new to the Lumix Ambassador team, how about you guys take a few minutes to kind of introduce yourselves, who you guys are, what you guys do for photography businesses, and kind of like I said, give everyone some insights. Let's start with you, William.
Sure. My name is William Innes. I'm based in Southern California. I'm mainly a wedding photographer, although my second passion is travel photography. I've been really blessed. My wife works for an airline, so we get to travel a lot and do a lot of exciting adventure type of photography. My photography career has only been for the last 12 to 13 years. Previous to that, I was one of those guys that wore a suit and tie every day. And I ran aerospace companies. I was president of a couple aerospace companies. When I was young, I loved photography. My dad got this East German Pratica camera when I was about 17. He didn't know what to do with it. I loved the camera. I loved the way it felt. And I shot up until maybe I had my first two kids. And I got to travel a lot for business. I didn't take a single picture for about 15 years. My wife actually documented my kids growing up. And about 14 years ago, I was on a business trip in Washington, D.C., had an afternoon to kill, and up in the camera store, bought a camera, flash. And, fast forward a year from then, I had a Leica, I had a Nikon F100, like I was all in with photography. Never thought I'd do wedding photography. And then 12 years ago, I had a boss who sort of ticked me off one Friday afternoon, and Monday morning I was a wedding photographer with no clients, no website, no nothing. But here I am, and that's my story.
Very cool, very cool. So what about you guys, Charles, Jennifer? What's up with you guys?
Yeah, so we're husband and wife, and we are both photographers, full-time, wedding and portrait photographers. We used to do mostly weddings and some portraits. Now we do mostly portraits and some weddings. And we've been doing this 20 plus years, and I've never had a real job. If you will say, I've always been a creative. My wife as well, other than high school jobs and things of that nature. So we've kind of been working on our own and just figuring it out the entire time for the past 20 plus years. And had a studio in New York for about 15 years. We're now in Connecticut and have a home up here and kind of a home studio. And so that's kind of our story.
Well, it's interesting because, Charles and I, we didn't grow up together. I grew up in Connecticut my entire life. And I've always just I was an artsy kid. I was into theater. I was into lots of, cool things like doing photography in the dark room, seeing things come to light. And, after high school, I knew I wanted to be some kind of an artist. I didn't know what it was. And lo and behold, I happened to meet some gentleman who dropped off film at the place where I developed the film. And we started to connect, and we were, actually, I was like 18 at the time. So he was like in his early 20s. And we really had like just that freedom, that young freedom. And we just went for really big ideas and always looked for the best and was never afraid of change, was always looking for great opportunities to grow and innovative technologies. And it's just led us to not necessarily being pigeonholed or having our mind in one idea, but to be open-minded about all different possibilities.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So obviously the topic for today's stream is reframing and refocusing, and a lot of that is around obviously the current situation going on in the world, which for reminder for those that are joining in, we won't be mentioning by name the current situation. It screws with YouTube's algorithms and really just doesn't do well for streaming. So we will be referring to it as the current situation. And what we wanted to kind of quote unquote. So what we wanted to talk about is, with working professionals, obviously how has this affected business, and what kind of insight can be given to those of you that maybe kind of still having a hard time with what's going on, or even just some of you that are just looking for, kind of inspiration as to things to keep yourself busy or do. So we have a couple of questions that we had received over the number of weeks that, this has been going on. So I want to pose to you guys the first question we got here, and that is, so how has the current global situation changed how you're advertising yourself to your clients, whether they're current clients or potential new clients? Let's start with Charles and Jennifer for this one.
Well, one of the things that we've been focused on that we don't normally have the time to focus on is our website SEO. We've slowly watched because we work on referral, we've slowly kind of watched our website go back in the rankings. So this has given me time to dive into pulling us back up to top tier rankings in the certain keywords that we're looking for. And it's also spending some time building our Google My Business profile as well, for the local business searches and things of that nature. So focusing on that. But I think most importantly, it's the clients that you already have that we're focusing on.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that I've been really taking it upon myself. As soon as everything kind of like went underway and things were starting to change, I recognized that a lot of the families that I photograph, they have kids, they're probably at home homeschooling. And so when they're at home homeschooling, I know where they are, so I'll give them a call or I'll FaceTime them, and I get to see them and they get to see me and they get to see I'm healthy. I get to see that they're happy. I get to say hi to their kids. It's reconnecting. It's, and it has nothing to do with my photography. I'm not asking them to come in for a photo shoot. I'm just saying, hey, I care. And that, we have been a personal part of your life. And, I just want to let you know that I'm here for you if you need anything. But at the same token, it really gives me an opportunity to, keep myself in my client's mind's eye in more of a personal way instead of just always in a professional way.
Yeah. That's something I think is important, especially now. Small businesses are obviously struggling through what's going on for the most part, and still always keeping those touch points with your clients and treating them like family or friends, is going to be one of those things that really sticks with people, I think, when we come out of this into some semblance of normalcy-ish, as businesses start getting back together. So that's a really cool, kind of tip that I think a lot of people, hopefully take away from this is, bring back your business to some of that human connection. So William, what about you? What are with the wedding industry? How are you, changing your advertising with current and future clients?
Ironically, it's sort of similar. I've always been a big proponent of organic marketing, face to face or people to people. In the wedding industry, there are past clients, so that's really one great area. But I've always been a proponent of marketing to people within the wedding industry, venues, wedding planners, florists, And it doesn't necessarily have to be the wedding industry. It could be any type of photography business you're in. There's always people on the edge or other business relationships you have. And it's been a prime time just to reach out. And like Jennifer said, just not make it a business call, but either via phone call, text, messenger, whatever. Hey, how you doing? Hope you're doing well through this thing. Is everything good? And just continue to build those relationships and come from a place of really caring. And I think as we solidify those relationships even more, and as we come out of this, those are the type of people that are going to come back around and refer you. And that's what I've been doing a lot.
Yeah, and to add to what William's saying, like in the wedding part of, our business, I mean, let's face it, a lot of people had to, postpone or actually decide to make a whole different, scenario and plan based on their day and the fact that people can't gather together. So, I've had a lot of, very, very concerned couples calling and, kind of afraid, actually, in a weird sort of way to converse with their parents, just because it's so personal. And I think because we're trusted professionals, they're seeking our advice as far as like what should we do, or what can we do, or what are some good options. And reminding couples, and basically I always ask them, I'm like, well, what's the most important thing about your wedding day? Well, that we get married. Well, what are the most important, people that you want at your wedding? Well, usually it's their closest family. So the bottom line is that if they have to make do and they can only have 25 people at their wedding, or 5 people at their wedding, or it's just the 2 of them, the main ingredients are always going to happen and they're always going to exist. So if they don't want to postpone their day and they do want to settle on getting married on a specific day, there's no reason that it can't be any more special than it was to begin with. It's just going to be different.
Yeah.
So, it's just reminding people that change is not always a bad thing. It's the best thing that happened.
Yeah, and that sentiment, I think, segues right into the second question that we've gotten a lot, and that's, obviously, like you said, change can be a good thing, and change can also be a necessity, especially in times like this. So, given what your current focuses are in photography and videography, how do you see your business changing or moving forward as we kind of come out of this current heavier lockdown-ish kind of situation? Let's go to William first for this one.
Sure. Ironically, I'd sort of started doing this before this whole world situation started. And it's always dangerous to have all your eggs in one basket. So if you're a baby photographer, or in my case, a wedding photographer, here we are. If you were just doing weddings, the chances are that they're either all canceled or postponed and you have no work. So I was making the foray into, number one, product photography, which is awesome. If you have a home studio like Charles, or just a home period, there's a lot of products you can shoot. You can work on your own schedule. They don't get sassy and talk back to you. Yeah, you can wear your pajamas or whatever you want and work. It's pretty cool. So that's one. And the other area I sort of went into was commercial photography. And I did a couple of gigs with Matt Sutherland, who's another Lumix ambassador. He's a videographer. And one of the biggest tips I have, and one of the biggest sources of income, is our local hospital. So if you think about it, hospitals are great because they need product photography. They need headshots of doctors. They have event, so it's event photography. It's everything all wrapped into one. And hospitals have money. And a lot of hospitals may have an in-house photographer, but often there's multiple things happening at the same time. So you got to think, it's a corny thing to say, think outside of the box, but you need to do that. And you need to, get a couple of other different types of photography under your belt. One quick thing I just want to add to that, do not put them all on your same website. Nothing worse than a website that says, I'm a wedding photographer, passport photos, travel, have specific marketing and websites for each genre of photography that you want to do.
Yeah, and that's also, I mean, that's a super important part. I think a lot of people, forget, putting everything on one site, while, yeah, it's easy to manage from an internal perspective of just, hey, I have one place to worry about. That's one of the most kind of frustrating things for a client to be looking at, because, trying to figure out, well, I came for wedding, but, now there's, like you said, passport photo or travel photography.
Yeah, you want to be a
It's cool
specialist.
seeing it. Yeah. Having
Right.
your specialty show and being able to go out and say, hey, look, this is a product photography client or a corporate headshot client. This is where you need to go see my work for your topic. It's a small thing that I think a lot of people overlook in the effort of trying to be efficient. But efficiency is definitely more, keeping things kind of, siloed in advertising. So.
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more with you on that. I mean, it's fun for us to share. Like, we have our Together in Style, behind the scenes. It kind of encompasses all that we do, and it's totally separate from our portrait and wedding website. But it also gives us a portal for our existing clients to also get to see some of the cool things that we may have talked about during our photo shoot, because we can say, hey, oh yeah, we just did this cool, shoot of this band, and this is, so it's something that they're interested. It keeps that interest. So having those types of things and having other websites, and he's also an incredible painter, and he has this other side of him with music. So having all of these little opportunities to kind of encompass who you are to your clients gives them, they feel like they can interact with you and they can participate, but yet at the same token, it's not overwhelming or confusing,
Yeah. So for you guys, how do you see business changing as we move through this? I know you guys are pretty well diversified already in the different art forms that you guys work in, but with the photo business, do you see changes coming out of this?
I do. I think we're going to have a short-term change in which weddings and events are going to be put on hold for the most part. And so we're very lucky that we've diversified into doing lots of portraits and families and corporate work and things of that nature. Early in my career, so many people told me, specialize in one specific thing. And, I've learned over the years, after the 2008 crash, for instance, it was so important to be diversified because there are times when weddings will go away and you'll need something to move on to. And so I've just kind of learned diversification is really the key. So I think moving forward, it really is about diversification within your craft of photography.
And I mean, let's face it, if you do the same thing over and over, day after day, year after year, I mean, come on now. It's like Groundhog's Day. I mean, we can all relate to that at this point right now. But the reality is, you want to expand your mind. You want to try some new things. I suggest, a lot of times I will have like this vision in my head, and I obviously can't practice on a client. So I'll call up a couple of friends and say, hey, I got this idea, can we put something together? I really want to, do something. And it enables me to practice and to, get creative on my own side and to challenge myself, in different things. And then for some reason, should it come out incredibly, like absolutely how I envisioned or better, it gives me that extra boost to then sell it to a commercial client or have that ability. So, I think that taking this time and diversifying and, challenging yourself to do more than what you already do is a good thing, because it's only going to create growth.
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously, we're talking about, your businesses and, what your concepts of how things are moving along and how they're going to change. But, that kind of brings us to, what do we think is going to happen to the industry kind of as a whole? I mean, collectively, all of us have been in this industry for a long time. Whether it's, from myself being in the manufacturing side of it and the retail side, you guys being in the professional, photographer and videographer side, it kind of raises a question of, how do we think our respective photographic areas are going to change outside of us for getting new clients, or even when we do get back, how do we think it's going to change when you're actually working with clients? What do you guys think?
I can I have two things. First of all, I think weddings will come back, but I think they're going to be smaller for a long, long time. So instead of the 500 people weddings, to go what Jennifer said, it's going to be the intimate 20, 30, 40, immediate family, couple of best friends. These people are still going to want to get married. I really doubt that's going to have an impact on what we as photographers can actually make, because regardless, we're still going to be there for the 8 to 10 hours. We're still going to cover the event. We're still going to capture the portraits. To sort of be selfish, it's probably going to make our job a little bit easier, instead of having 400 screaming drunk people running around. So I think that'll be a change. And then the second change, I think, is exactly what we're doing now. And I know with Jennifer and Charles used to do this. They would have online meetings with clients because of where they're located. And I was doing it a little bit in LA because, I'm up in Santa Clarita, and if somebody's down in Orange County, that's like a 3-hour drive. So, but I think this is going to become the norm now, because I think people are going to get used to Zoom. If you look at Zoom, Microsoft, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. You're getting concerts via Zoom now. And I think there's just going to be it's going to become a more socially accepted way of meeting and talking to people. So maybe instead of having an actual meeting place where you have to meet clients, it'll be much more acceptable to do it online going forward.
Yeah. I mean, that's a, definitely I think an important thing for people to, kind of realize that, we've talked about it a number of times on these live streams about how obviously as the world has changed, communication with people has to change as well. I mean, was the whole, spark that got us into doing these weekly streams here. And, honestly, being able to take an hour out of a week and reconnect with you guys. I mean, it's been how long since, any of us actually really sat and had a good long conversation. These are the things that I think help people, not just with clients, but also with, our own psyche, being able to actually still have interactions with people that aren't necessarily, our close family that you're always in contact with. So, it's an important thing for people to evolve into that method of communicating in the world. Now with Charles and Jennifer, how do you guys think the industry is gonna change moving forward?
I don't see a lot of major change. I just see that you're gonna, for us, what I will say is that probably your number one asset, if you've built it, is your email list. Being able to stay in constant contact with the people who know you, all the people who know you exist. And I think making use of that email list and staying in the eyes of people is going to be more important than ever. So that's one thing I will say, is I just think that more than ever right now, and moving forward, it's keeping those personal connections and keeping ideas of what you can do for them in their mind's eye on a regular basis. And we have found, just this week, we did an e-blast and we got quite a response from it. So we know that it's incredibly important. And I think that that's kind of one of the things that's going to be important moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, like I was continually saying, always keeping yourself in the minds of your existing clients is a great thing, because even if we sent an e-blast out about graduation, a lot of people are not graduating, or they're virtually graduating. So we know that this is still a special time, and the way we photograph is a lot of time is social distancing anyway, to be quite honest with you, utilizing longer lenses. But again, at the same token, we had a couple people obviously that are in that predicament that reached out, but we also had other people that aren't, they don't have any graduation things going on, but they're like, you know what, I've been meaning to connect with you guys. Thanks so much for reminding me. And after speaking with them on the phone, and having these conversations, like, you recognize and you realize, like, everybody is really truly excited and really wants to support local businesses. And they're really happy and they're really excited to, they know that we're not going to have that many weddings this year. I mean, they know that things are going to be different for us. So it's interesting and so heartwarming to see that people are really excited and just thankful that we are a part of their lives and have been. So they're eager to help us get back into the swing of things.
And I think especially with life occasions like a graduation, especially right now, this is, if you're a senior graduating high school or college for that matter, this is really the first big experience you've had as a senior, because you left school not knowing you were never going back, and so they've missed out on sports, they've missed out on prom, they've missed out on so many things. So this is such an important time to just make people aware that we have options for them, to do some special things for them, to make this feel like senior year was really important and meaningful.
I mean, I was like literally just, my heart was overjoyed. I just started to work because we just opened up, and I did a senior photo shoot, and it was beautiful. And at the end of the photo shoot, she's like, "This is the first time I've actually really ever felt like a senior." Because it was the first thing I've done that was special. Because they had to leave school before any of the special real events happened. So it's cool. I mean, as far as like the whole industry on a whole, I mean, the reality is that this is pretty cool that we have these virtual connections. And I think that it's also cool that, like, at 9-10 o'clock at night, if I'm sitting around and I don't feel like watching like what's on TV, and I actually want to watch something that is going to enhance my own mind, being able to tune into anything is really cool. So having online education, having all of these abilities to connect with people, I think is completely key. And it adds that touch of like humanity, even if it is virtual, And everybody's on their phones nowadays. Everybody's on their devices. I mean, let's face it. So, I mean, hey, nothing new.
Yeah. We are a society, for the most part. We are a society driven by screens, and having access to your phone, and to use it as a platform to learn, and like, this is a great example. Actually have a conversation and listen to what other professionals are doing is a really kind of big benefit that I think obviously took a horrible situation to kind of kick off in a really good stride across the board. Because obviously with myself and the rest of the team here at Panasonic that would normally be out traveling and working with you guys at storefronts to do courses like this or conversations like this, not having that, becomes a bit of a kind of depressing point. I personally love traveling. I love being on the road. I love meeting, photographers and people getting into this industry. So still being able to have that kind of touch point to interact and educate is, I think, more valuable now than it ever was before, to kind of help keep creativity going. And with that, what kind of things are you guys doing to, not necessarily photography and business related, but what kinds of things are you guys doing to stay creative, to not fall into a negative rut in either thought or just creativity? Let's start with Charles on that one. Charles,
it's more than ever, I've been diving into doing things that I wish I had time to do with my camera when I'm busy, So I've been and Jennifer's actually been nice enough to get behind me and kind of film some of it as well. And you can go to our YouTube channel at Together in Style, or our blog at togetherinstyle.com. And we take you behind the scenes on photo walks. So, I've been doing some nature photography and some fine art photography, and she kind of films the behind the scenes, and we tell a little story with a voiceover. And I think it's, giving inspiration of how to see the world through the camera differently than what's in front of you. Start to think from an abstract kind of mindset. And because I'm a painter as well, and I do these giant abstract paintings, that it's given me kind of a new abstract eye and viewpoint through my camera. And now I don't just go out and look at rocks. I look for, maybe the rocks are showing me a face, like a human face or something like that. And I seek things differently. So we've been trying to share inspiration that way on our YouTube channel, and just getting out with the camera and doing things that we normally don't have the time to do because we're inundated with portrait sessions and everything else that we have going on.
And I'm going to keep it real in the sense that when this all happened, I was paralyzed. I mean, I couldn't believe that I couldn't work. You can't tell stories, and the stories I can tell are either just like heart-wrenching, or it's like, just turning spring. So like there was hardly any kind of like budding or anything on the trees. They're just so barren. I'm like, this is crazy. And people know me of posting positive messages and doing all of these things. And it was truly a hard thing for me to do, to like kind of like suck it up and say, all right, I gotta find the beauty in all of this. And doing these types of like photo projects and going into nature, filming him, like reminding ourselves about the beauty of life, not only helped us kind of portray that positive message for other people, but it reminded me and us that, hey, this is a situation that's given to us, so we can do it one way or another, and that's kind of our choice.
And to add to what she's saying, the camera has this beautiful thing where when you go out with it, it's, you work from an internal place, and it teaches you these beautiful lessons, and it does connect you to nature and the world around you in ways that you just don't see unless you are looking through that viewfinder with a specific lens. And so it's a really beautiful thing to be a photographer. If you're feeling, down, you're not sure about things, go out into nature somewhere by yourself with a camera. You will come back inspired that the world is a really amazing place.
And it's so true, because the more you do end up posting positive things and actually do it, you kind of get the gusto to do it, you feel better about it in the end, so it's a good thing all around.
Good.
Yeah. How about you, William? What kind of stuff are you doing to stay creative?
I'm doing non-photography stuff, actually, a little bit more.
Awesome.
I've been accused of being a workaholic before, 24/7. All three of my kids, my wife tells me that, never relax. So I'm trying to relax. My intent is always to watch movies. I never do, because a movie takes 2 hours and there's always emails to answer, new marketing plan. So I always take my TV screen time in short bites. So now I'm actually watching movies. And to me, it's inspirational, because I not only look at them from the writing point of view, I'm always looking at them from the lighting point of view. So that's one. And then Charles has motivated me here. He's a triple threat. I used to draw when I was young, and I actually used to dabble on a keyboard, but I have a ukulele. I've had it for 4 years, and I've never picked it up. And I'm actually teaching myself how to play ukulele.
That's
and
awesome.
My dream is to jam with Charles someday when I get out to Connecticut.
I can't wait to hear your band.
I'm going to get the band back together. But in all honesty, it's a great mental break. It's a small little instrument. It's easy to travel. And these days, there's no excuse, because all you have to go is to YouTube, and there's 10 million lessons on how to learn. So I love learning now. I think you brought that up, Jennifer. And even for photography these days, if you go online and look, everything is free. Every camera manufacturer has stuff out there, software companies. So if you have a lot of time at home right now, now's the time to raise your game. And it's sort of no excuses, right? It's out there for everybody to consume. That's what I've been doing, Sean.
Yeah, and that's I think one of the cool things that has come out of this is, there's we mentioned it before that, like, with education, there are so many more options online right now than there's ever been for learning a new technique in photography. I mean, for for what I do on a weekly basis and what the team here at Panasonic does, we teach courses pretty much like we were doing in stores, about things like astrophotography or time lapse, or one that I'm working on right now is even stop motion photography. Things that none of us may have really ever thought about doing before because it's not our traditional discipline that we're maybe either formally trained in or have built a business on. But there are so many opportunities in photography and videography that if you take a little bit of time and you start just playing around, literally going at it from the perspective of, I don't need to get anything out of this per se. Like I don't have to do this to make money. I need to do this for myself. It's going to translate into things that you'll find you may have never realized could actually be beneficial to your business. I had a conversation with a product photographer that shoots with our equipment, and has just been doing kind of the same old all the time. It's your setup shots. You're just kind of clicking through, getting them done, collecting the check at the end of the day. But then found that you can do some creative things with like stop motion for those products, for the clients, that adds that next level of product that they could potentially use for things like Instagram or Facebook for different marketing and different advertising tools that he had never known was in the camera and something that was just there for them to use, and only found it because we had a conversation, mentioned it through a kind of a conversation like this, and now is able to offer something new to clients that no one else in his field is actually offering either. So, for people to take a break, in being necessarily so serious about business and work and having to do everything so hardcore about this needs to be done this way. Take the time, learn new techniques, and use the resources that are out there for you. Like you said, William, there are so many different opportunities out there about this that are just going to help people get new and better techniques to take out of this. So what with that, what kind of maybe advice do you guys give to someone who might be struggling with some of that, being stuck in a rut? There's been a lot shared so far, but are there different things you would recommend to new people getting into this?
I actually have been getting this question asked to me for a long time, because we work from home, and now a lot of people have to work from home. So a lot of people are in a rut, whether they are in photography or they are in any other kind of business, and photography is just their hobby. But the reality is that I think having a routine, getting up every morning, like it doesn't matter if I'm meeting a client or I'm not meeting a client, I'm in the shower and I'm ready to meet somebody by 9 a.m. every single day. I also have been doing like yoga in the morning and meditating and like refocusing where I need to be and who I am, because I'm so bombarded with news, like morning, noon, and night, and like Facebook feeds of like everybody's opinion that really don't matter, because like everything on Facebook is somebody's past. Like I want to live in my present. I don't mind reviewing it and enjoying it and having it be a part of my entertainment, but it can't rule my life. So I have to start my day like with an intention. And I think that once you start to do that, you start to recognize, okay, well, I do have to work, but now I do want to go garden, or I do want to go like decorate my front porch. Or, I've always wanted to bake a lemon meringue pie, like silly things like that. You start to kind of recognize, because you're pulling yourself and you're starting to be quiet within, and it sets your day kind of, in a good way.
To add to, I think, what she's saying, I've surrounded myself with all the loves of my life, starting here, but also, photography is my number one joy, but I also play music, and I started launching music on Spotify and iTunes and everywhere else worldwide, and I paint. And so how could I evolve all of this into one interesting thing. You know, part of it's just not getting bored. You know, when we get bored with something, you know, our mind starts to kind of fall apart. So I love that I can sit down at my computer, record a song, go over, you know, for an hour or so, go over, paint a little bit, go out, pick up my camera in the afternoon, keep myself entertained. So, you know, for me, it's just about having a lot of entertainment around me in ways that I'm growing and learning something new all the time. So,
And then like at 9, 10 o'clock at night, he's like, Jen, you got to come down and see what I did. So, you know, even though we work together, we don't work together like side by side all the time. So it's nice to see, you know, him growing in his certain aspects and myself doing the same thing. So, you know, it's truly one of those personal things as human beings that we get to choose, you know, happiness or sadness. And it's not easy every day, but it's definitely something that, you know, if you dig deep, I think we all have it within ourselves to be thankful for at least waking up.
Yeah.
Can I add to that a tiny bit?
Yeah. Yeah, go
quickly,
for it.
you know, the bottom line is we've been dealt this hand if we like it or not. And like you said, we get to choose. So my thing is just like, look, relax and enjoy the time because it's not busy time. You know, like we live our lives like we're on that treadmill, previously business, other commitments. Now we have time, even to go to the doctor. You don't have to go drive anymore. You go online, you have your appointment, and the prescription gets delivered. So we have a lot of time. So before we went live, I mentioned I was reading this article that Springsteen hosted his own Sirius XM station this morning. We've all heard the expression, you know, like live each day like it's your last. And he was talking about his great aunt who was like 92 years old. And her saying was, live each day like you're going to live forever. And I really thought about that. And it's a total reverse. And it's like, if you knew you were going to live forever, you wouldn't be stressed out that you had to do this and you had to do that. You'd be relaxed. And I think that's great advice about these times of what's going on.
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, and you know, so yeah, you know, keeping yourself in as positive of a you know mindset as you can is clearly something that's really important in any business that you have, whether it's photo, video, or anything, and just general in life. And you know, using these opportunities to connect with like-minded creatives, I think is something that people used to tend to overlook a bit. You know, these sessions that we're doing, these live streams, probably one of the coolest things that I've seen out of it is, you know, the chat. People that are in here watching these conversations and actually taking part in it. You see that obviously there are other people that are dealing with similar situations that some of you may be dealing with as well. You know, so if you're a wedding photographer and you're struggling because you know you've lost a bunch of clients because or not necessarily lost clients, but you know you've lost work because of the situation, it's just fact that you know you're not the only one dealing with that. There are other people that you know probably can bounce ideas off each other, find ways that you know, hey, this person had kind of found a way to kind of branch out their business and find a new way to reach those customers, or find a new way to provide a product to a client that, you know, honestly may be, you know, totally different than what you've ever done before, but use these opportunities to push through and better yourself as a photographer, videographer, and just as a creative in general. It will pay off in the end.
Yeah, you know, then that was the soft side of me, but then coming back to the workaholic side, look, this is a time to prepare, get ready. And I think, you know, again, when we're on that treadmill, we have all these great ideas. I need to do this. I should be doing that. I should be doing accounting or setting up a new system. And we never quite get around to it. Guys, this is the time. You got all this time on your hand. Take a look at your business and what have you been meaning to do or what needs improvement, and get it ready. Do it now because this will not last. When it's over, you'll be good to go, whether it be studio management or Charles talked about SEO, websites.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be honest, I look at a lot of other photographer websites and there's a lot that are not very good. So work on your website because that's going to help you attract more clients, more eyes when this thing starts, dissipating and things get back to normal. So prepare, get ready.
If I could add to that,
Yeah.
too, a lot of people will ask me, how do you get inspiration? How do you get inspired to go do all of these things? I don't. That's the only thing that gives me inspiration is action. When I start taking action and I actually sit down to go do it, that's when the inspiration starts to flow. So really, it's just the act of, if you need to get some video editing done, you're never going to be inspired to do it. Sit down, start, and then the inspiration comes to you, So
It's so true. It's amazing
It's like
how that works.
It's like going to the gym. Like no one wants to go. I mean, once you get there, you have to
you're in
it.
it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
at the same token, well, I mean, maybe some people want to go to the gym, but I'm just saying from my experience.
Yeah. This is definitely the time to not give up and not become complacent with the way things are. Just as you said, William, things will make a turn. Things will start to get back to a more normal-ish rhythm, and those that don't take this opportunity to get your business in order, find ways to evolve your, even simple things like you mentioned, evolve your bookkeeping, evolve your website, your advertising, find new ways to branch out and reach people. If you've been someone who utilizes just local advertising, maybe now's the time to start, investigating ways to branch out of your local region, especially with the fact that it's easier now more than ever to reach people that aren't necessarily in your kind of, bubble of influence, using this technology that's available. And let's face it, we're all visual content creators. We're photographers, videographers, painters, musicians. All of those art forms work to our benefit in selling ourselves to just anybody. So use that creativity that you have for, just in a different method, in different ways to advertise, and it's going to pay itself back tenfold, as long as you keep with it. That's the thing that I've always learned is, stick with it. The second it starts to get really hard, or you start to get a little frustrated with it, I always look at that as a way to know, like, I am on the right path now. If it's tough and I'm being frustrated with this, that kind of is a good indication that, this is the path I should be going down, because it means I'm learning something new, and it's not just something that's easy to me.
Well said.
Right.
Yeah.
And to add to what you're saying, Sean, I mean, you're right. I mean, people have to take that time to like reevaluate. Okay, I'm a wedding photographer. I've been a wedding photographer for the last, it's a new business in the last 2-3 years. Now what? Like, that's all I knew what I was doing. Okay, well, these people that you photograph their weddings, if you did a great job for them, and hopefully you did, at this point in their life, they may have kids now. So reach out to them and start to give those ideas and start to look back upon those things. Did those people do a wedding album? When was their wedding? Was it in July? Well, then, why don't you send an email out to them, a personal email? I mean, people can't have 500, weddings. I mean, we're talking about you might have had 25 people that you have to connect with that on their wedding anniversary say, hey, it's a month before your wedding. I can make you a beautiful wall portrait if you'd like to give to your wife. You know how many guys are like, thank God, I've been thinking about this forever.
What am I gonna buy?
I had no idea. This is perfect. Can you just ship it and have it wrapped? I'm like, no problem. But so it's taking the resources that you have and just reconfiguring those ingredients, and you'll be surprised.
Jennifer, that's so true, because a lot of the album companies, they're feeling it too, and they're running specials. I know my album company is. And it's a great time to, let's face it, in this world, not everybody got an album in their package. It's a perfect time to go back and be honest and go hey, in this special time in the world, our album company is running a special. We want to pass that along to you, make them an offer where it's a win-win-win. They get an album, which I believe they should have anyways. You're going to make some money. And the album company, you're helping them with their business too.
Right.
So, you know what? It's a win all the way around. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and
Makes sense.
that actually touches on a point, William, too. Because not from my perspective, since I don't work in the wedding and portrait industry. I mean, I've dabbled in it. I've done I've worked for wedding photographers, and I've lived a little bit of that life. I think it's more important now than ever for photographers and videographers to also not undercut yourself. You know, don't go out and give your work away for free. Once you start doing that as a way, if people come up and you start getting offers of like, hey, look, times are tough, I need, this photo shoot done, and I just don't have money. It's, obviously there's a bandwidth that your business and hopefully your structure has for some discounting or some sort of way to work with a client, whether it's added on an album that they may not have ever done before, but you can find a way to work it in without necessarily lowering your price or finding a way to do it.
Added value.
Yeah. Learn how to add value so that you're not necessarily having to take less money for your product either, because that becomes an incredibly slippery slope when you start discounting what your value is. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, clients I think are gonna, you may lose some business because some people just straight up may not be able to afford the work you have, but you have to eat too. This is a product that you're creating, that you're selling, that you're putting time and effort into. Never undersell, undercut yourself on the product that you sell.
Very well said, Sean.
Yeah, no, I don't think any of us have ever been disappointed when we have spent that little extra on something special from the right company, regardless of what it was that we all purchased, because we knew it was going to last forever and it was meaningful. So the deal is that as an artist, your best asset you can possibly have is to supply the finest products, because when you do that, your clients might not get 300 photographs, but they're not 300 crappy photographs. They've gotten 30 masterpiece photographs that they are absolutely enamored with. So, I think that the whole point is that you have to have in your mindset that a lot doesn't mean more money. Sometimes
Exactly.
the best things showcase the most valuable things. And I think that when you do that, people recognize for years on, and once they get them in their hands, even if they say, I can't believe I spent that on this, once they see them, they call me right back. They're thanking me. They're hugging me. I can't believe, this is the most incredible thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm thinking to myself, I am so blessed that I have a client who is willing to trust me to tell them that in this space, this is what you needed. And they did it. And now I'm proud of this piece of work. They are proud of this piece of work, and they show it to all their friends. And it's a whole good circle of energy that comes around and around.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. As we're coming about to the end of the time that we've been doing this. We've been talking for about an hour now. So, but it's don't cheapen your product either. Don't go out and, as a way to just get business, cheapen what your work product is, because this is a digital era. This is where that one job that you do that you may have only given 60% because you were working, you're stressed out, whatever like that, or you're trying to do it faster than you normally would. Don't fall into the trap of cutting corners in your work product, because it will stay with you. Somewhat, that content lives online. People will always see that. This is a time now more than ever that you should always still be giving 110% in what product you're giving out, because it's only going to help when you get out of this in back to relative normalcy.
Well, and I think to add to that is you don't want to be the studio in your area that's constantly running specials, because you can never get out of that once you start doing that. Just know your value, know that you're going to produce the highest quality possible, and your clients will come to you for that. You know, it's
And let's face it, if you're a small company, I would rather make the same amount of money photographing and doing one assignment and giving a lot of time and energy and effort than doing 10 of them. So there's a balance to be said as far as, what you can do.
Exactly. Well, this has been an awesome, kind of experience. Being able to catch up with you guys before the stream and then obviously during the stream, and hopefully anyone that's been watching has been able to at least pick up some tidbits of advice or some inspiration for how they can manage through this situation. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your days. I know for William, you it's a little bit earlier to start with because you're out in the West Coast. We're representing across the United States here today. I'm Central. You guys are East Coast. William's West Coast. So again, I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day to join us. And for anyone out there that's in kind of been following us and looking at these things, I want to make sure you guys know that these sessions are running weekly. We are now set on a regular schedule, so we'll be doing these every Thursday moving forward. So if you guys like this content and you like what you're hearing, or you have suggestions for topics that you want to have us cover in the future, make sure to leave those comments down in the comment section below on this video. We're always looking for what the community wants to hear. There's always going to be the topics that we have that we want to talk about and we want to kind of bring out to the market, but we always want to hear what you guys want to learn from us. And make sure that as you're going back through the log of the sessions we've got here, make sure to subscribe to the Lumix channel. Make sure you click the bell icon so that you get notifications when we do go live for these sessions. And like I said, next week we're gonna, comments down below. Make sure you click that bell icon. We will be going live next Thursday for a little bit more of a technical session. So for those of you that were looking for tech-heavy conversations, we will have those next week. And yeah, like I said, make sure click the like button, subscribe. Click the bell, and we will see everybody on the next week's session.